You are at the kitchen table, plan book open, and there is a rendering that stops you cold. A roofline that dips and rises and folds back on itself. Dormers poking out. A little gable over the entry. The evening sun hitting all those angles just right. It looks like a real custom home. It looks like money well spent. The kind of house somebody would slow down for. And I want you to hold that page up for a second, because I have been around enough of these to see what that pretty roof actually is. Every place two of those roof planes meet, there is a valley, and a valley is the most expensive foot of roof there is to build. 15 years from now, it is the exact spot where you'll be up on a ladder in the cold, trying to figure out why the ceiling in the room below has a brown stain spreading across it. That fancy roof does not just cost you more the day it goes on. It keeps billing you for as long as you own the house. It bills you in the extra framing labor the day it goes up. It bills you again the first winter the ice backs up in one of those valleys. It bills you again the summer you climb up to reseal the flashing, and again the year the whole thing needs a new layer and the crew charges you complex roof money to do it. A simple roof asks you for one check up front and then leaves you alone for years. This fancy one just keeps sending bills. Today, we are going to rank the roof shapes people actually build, worst to best. By the end, you will look at any roofline and see the money the way I do. And the one that lands at number one, the cheapest and smartest roof there is probably the one somebody talked you out of. Now, before we start, let me kill the thing you are already expecting me to say. This is not going to be gable good, hip bad. A plain hip roof is a fine roof. It is better than a gable in a windstorm, and I will show you exactly why later. This is about something simpler than the name of the shape. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And we did the footprint of the house in another video. This is the other half of that same idea, sitting right on top of it. So here is the one thing this whole video hangs on. The single lever. Count the valleys. A valley is where two roof planes meet and funnel all their water down into one narrow channel. That is it. That is the whole idea. Every valley on a roof is doing four expensive things at once. It is more framing labor because those intricate angled cuts take a skilled crew real time. It is more material waste because you are cutting shingles and sheathing on the diagonal and throwing the offcuts in the dumpster. It is more flashing, all of it bent and fitted by hand in the one place water concentrates. And here is the part no rendering ever shows you. It is the number one place a roof leaks and the number one place ice dams form and backwater up under your shingles in the winter. So the cost of the roof, both the day it goes on and every year after, tracks the valley count. That is your takeaway for any roofline you will ever look at. Count the valleys, and you have counted the bill. Let me show you the ice dam part, because that is the one that gets people, and most folks have never had it explained plain. In the winter, the heat leaking up out of your house warms the middle of the roof, and the snow up there melts. That meltwater runs down the slope until it hits the cold edge over the eaves, and it freezes again into a ridge of ice. Now more water comes down behind it, hits that dam, and has nowhere to go but sideways and up, back under your shingles. Shingles are built to shed water running downhill, not to hold it back. So it finds the seam, and it comes inside. And where does all that meltwater get funneled and concentrated on a cut-up roof? Straight down the valleys. A valley is a chute pointed right at the coldest, most vulnerable spot on the whole roof. That brown stain on the bedroom ceiling in February did not come from nowhere. It came from a valley, doing exactly what a valley does. And let me put some round numbers on it so it is real, not just a percentage. Take an ordinary asphalt roof over a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home. And I am giving you 2026 ballparks here, so treat these as directional and check your own market. A simple gable might run you somewhere in the $8,000 to $16,000 range installed. Put a plain hip on that same house, and you are looking at more like 10,000 to 20,000. Go to the cut-up complex roof, and you climb from there. The estimators will tell you that shape and complexity alone can swing your replacement cost 30 to 40% on the exact same shingle. Same house, same square footage, same material off the same truck. The only thing that changed was how many times two planes had to meet and make a valley. And none of this is my opinion. I want to be clear about that, because you should not trust a stranger on the internet just because he sounds sure. This is the roofer's own numbers and the estimating books they price jobs out of. They price a roof by the valley and by the cut. A simple gable is the most affordable and by far the most common roof in America, and it is common for exactly that reason. Not because people have no imagination. The complex cut-up roofs run somewhere around 20 to 30% more than a comparable simple roof. And they waste up to about 30% of their material against roughly 10% on a plain gable. The roofers themselves will tell you that simplicity beats the shape valley. A simple gable outperforms a fancy hip and valley roof in snow country, because those valleys are where the ice dams come from. They just do not print any of that on the pretty rendering. All right, let us walk the roofs, worst to best, and read each one by counting valleys. We start at the very bottom, with the worst roof money can buy you. The complex hip and valley, multi-wing roof. This is the magazine rendering. This is the one that stopped you at the kitchen table. Planes running in every direction. A wing here, a wing there. Dormers punch through the slope, and a valley at every single spot where two of those sections come together. Now count them with me. Every time the main roof meets a wing, that is a valley, and there are usually two of them, one on each side of the wing. Every dormer you punch through the slope makes its own little pair of valleys where its roof ties back into the big roof. So a roof with 3 wings and a couple of dormers is not carrying 2 or 3 valleys. It is carrying 8, 10, a dozen. And I want you to remember what each one of those is. Each one is a diagonal cut through your framing, a diagonal cut through your sheathing, a bent piece of flashing fitted by hand, and a chute for water and ice for the life of the house. This roof has the worst waste of anything we will talk about. Up toward 30% of the material headed for the dumpster. It has the most intricate framing, which is the most expensive labor a carpenter does, because every one of those cuts has to be figured and fitted. There is no racking it out. It has the most flashing, all done by hand in the exact spots water concentrates, and it hands you a leak candidate and an ice dam candidate at every valley, and this roof has valleys pointing in every direction you can name. It costs the most to build, and it costs the most to own. This is the roof that charges you twice. Once when the crew is up there framing it, and again every time you are chasing water, 15 and 20 years down the road. That is the honest catch on the prettiest roof in the book. Now, let me stop you right here for 1 minute, because this next thing is going to save you more than this whole video will. I want you to have the thing I built for exactly this moment. It is called The Complete Cheap Living Field Edition. 3 guides. The catches hidden in cheap houses, the catches hidden in cheap land, and the state-by-state notebook on what each place really costs you. Plus the worksheets you print out and carry right to the county office and the builder meeting. This is the same stuff I check before I trust any deal. Put in your hands so you walk in knowing more than the person selling to you. It is the first link in the description, or you can scan the code on your screen right now, and it is yours in about a minute. Go grab it. I will wait. All right, back to the roof. 1 step up from the bottom is the cross gable. This is 2 or more gables running into each other at right angles. So you get that L shape or T shape from above, a gable facing the street, and another gable running back off the side. It is better than the full-blown complexity of the last one. I will give it that. But look at what happens where those 2 gable roofs cross. you get a valley. Every intersection makes one. So the cross gable typically runs somewhere around 15 to 25% more than a simple gable, and it brings the leak points along with the price. And here is a thing people do not realize about the cross gable. Those two valleys where the gables meet are not just any valleys. They sit right in the inside corner of the L, the low spot, the place two whole roof surfaces are draining into at once. That is the single hardest working, wettest foot of roof on the entire house. It is doing double the water of anywhere else, and it is the first place that will ever give you trouble. If you own a cross gable and you have ever had a leak, I would put money on where it started. And here is why you see this roof everywhere. On half the plan books in the country, it reads as custom. It looks like somebody sat down and designed it instead of just building a box with a lid. That look is exactly what costs you. You are paying a premium, up front and down the road, to have your roof photographed like a custom home from the curb, which is fine, honestly, as long as somebody tells you that is the trade you are making and what it is going to run you. Usually, nobody does. It just shows up on the plan looking handsome, and you fall for it the same way I would have. Now we get to the middle of the pack, and this is where I have to be honest with you, because this is the part a lazy video would skip. The plane hip. A plane hip is four simple slopes that all rise up to meet at one ridge, or sometimes a single point. No gable ends. It sheds water off all four sides. And here is the thing. A plane hip runs modestly more than a gable, call it 15 to 20%. Some sources put it a touch lower. And it runs more for a real reason. It is four slopes to frame instead of two. But look close. A plane hip has no interior valleys. None. It is more slopes, but they do not cross and funnel water into a channel. So it sheds clean off all four sides, and there is no chute waiting to leak. That is the whole difference, and it is why the hip is not the villain here. It costs a little more, but it does not cost you the way a valley does. And that hip shape genuinely earns its money in one place. Wind country, hurricane country. Here is why. A gable has two big flat walls at the ends, up under the peak, and when a hard wind hits one of those flat ends, it acts like a sail. The wind pushes on it, gets up under the overhang, and tries to peel the whole roof off. A hip has no flat end walls. It slopes away on all four sides, so the wind slides over it instead of grabbing it. The wind tunnel work backs this up. The peak pressures a hip has to fight can run something like half of what a comparable gable takes. That is a real difference when the storm comes, and the insurance companies know it. In a lot of coastal and high wind markets, a hip roof earns you a wind mitigation credit, money off your premium every single year you own the house. Over the life of the roof, that credit can quietly pay back the extra you spent to build it. One thing I will not oversell you. At the same pitch, neither shape has a real snow load advantage over the other. The snow does not care about the name of the shape. What differs is the drainage, the valleys, the places water gets trapped and freezes. So do not let anybody sell you a complicated roof on a snow load story. The plain shapes carry the load just fine. So the plain hip is not a mistake. It is a trade. And now you know exactly what you are trading and exactly when it is worth it. If you are building where the wind comes hard, a plain hip might be the smartest roof on this whole list for you. That is the honest version. Anybody who tells you a hip is always a waste of money is selling you something too. Real quick, while we are in the honest part, if this is the kind of straight arithmetic you wish the plan book had handed you before you fell for a fancy roofline, do me a favor and hit subscribe. All real numbers, no hype. It helps this reach the next person about to pay for a valley in every direction. Okay, straight talk, because you have seen enough now to know I mean it. If you are actually going to build or buy, You need the complete Cheap Living Field Edition before you sign a single thing. Not someday. Now, while you can still change the plan, 3 guides. 40 catches hidden in cheap houses so you can tell an honest deal from a padded one. 50 catches hidden in cheap land listings so a bad lot does not sink the whole project before you pour a footing. And the state-by-state cheap living notebook, because where you build decides close to a third of what the whole thing costs, taxes and all. Plus every worksheet you will carry to the county office and the walkthrough. Bought separately, it would run you about $45. The whole collection is $29.99, and the worksheets are free inside it. That is the cheapest insurance you will ever buy on the biggest project of your life, because one padded bid or one bad lot costs more than the whole thing 10 times over. First link in the description, or scan the code on your screen and have it in a minute. Get it now, then come back, because this last roof is the one that saves you the most. Here it is. Number 1. The winner. The simple gable over a simple footprint. This is the cheapest roof there is, and now you understand every reason why. 2 planes. That is the whole roof. 2 slopes meeting at one ridge down the middle. The cuts are repetitive and identical, so a crew racks them out fast instead of fussing over angles. There are no valleys, which means there is nothing up there waiting to leak. It has the least waste of anything on this list, down around 10%. It is the easiest roof in the world to inspect, and the easiest to repair when the day comes. And because the attic underneath it is a simple open space, you get the best ventilation and the easiest insulation of any roof we have talked about, which shows up on your heating bill every month for the rest of your life. Let me walk you through why each of those saves you real money, not just on build day. The identical cuts matter because labor is the expensive part of a roof, more than the shingles most of the time. And a crew that can rack out the same rafter over and over is a crew that is off your roof faster and billing you less. The 10% waste against 30% on the complex roof is dumpsters of material you paid for and did not use. Gone. And the inspection part is bigger than it sounds. When something does go wrong up there, and eventually something always does, a 2-plane roof is a roof anybody can walk, find the problem, and fix in an afternoon. A cut-up roof means a specialist, more time, and half the trouble hiding down in a valley where you cannot see it until the ceiling tells you. The attic is the quiet one people forget. Under a simple gable, you have a clean, open triangle. Air moves through it the way it is supposed to, from the soffit up to the ridge, which keeps the roof cooler in summer and drier in winter. And it gives you honest room to lay down real insulation. Under a cut-up roof, that attic is chopped into odd little pockets and dead corners that do not ventilate and are miserable to insulate right. So the simple gable is not just cheaper to build, it is cheaper to heat and cool for every year you own it. It just sheds water and gets out of your way. That is the whole job of a roof, and this one does it for the least money in every direction. And do not let anybody tell you it has to look plain. A simple gable with a good deep porch and honest materials reads as a proper home to anybody who pulls up the driveway. Character does not live in the valleys. It lives in the porch, the trim, the front door, the things you can actually touch. One honest caveat, because I promised you the whole picture. In wind country, a gable needs its end walls braced properly, or you pick the plain hip instead and take the wind benefit. Say that to your builder out loud. It is a small thing to get right and a miserable thing to get wrong. Now, I told you at the top, this is not a video about your builder being a crook. Let me make good on that, because it matters. Nobody schemed this. Your builder is not ripping you off. He will build whatever roof you point at on that page and build it well. What happened is quieter than a scheme. The plan book's figured out a long time ago. that a fancy roofline sells more plans than an honest one. A cut-up roof photographs like custom, so it moves. And on a cost-plus or a percentage contract, the more the roof costs to build, the bigger the slice riding on top of it. So complexity quietly pays the people selling it twice over, without anybody having to lie to you. Nobody stood there and told you that every one of those charming little valleys was a framing bill today and a leak tomorrow. So I am telling you now, while it is still just lines on a drawing and it costs you nothing to fix. And here is where this whole thing lands. Because it is bigger than a build cost. The cheapest roof to put on turns out to be the cheapest roof to grow old under. Think about it. No valleys means nothing up there quietly waiting to leak on you when you are 80 years old and have no business on a ladder. Simple means less to maintain, fewer places for weather to work its way in. A roof you can look over from the ground with a cup of coffee in your hand. Compact and gabled means a well-insulated, well-vented attic that keeps the heating bill livable when you are on a fixed income every single month. And it is not just the money, it is the piece of it. There is a real difference between owning a house you have to worry about and owning one you do not. A simple roof is a roof you never think about. It does its job in the rain and the snow and the wind, and it does not send you up a ladder in January, and it does not put a stain on the ceiling over the bed. When you are 75 and you want to spend your money on your grandkids instead of a roofer, that quiet is worth more than the handsome curb photo ever was. The old farmhouse had a simple gable. The cabin up the road had a simple gable. Those folks were not playing because they had no imagination. They were paying for every valley out of their own pocket, out of a hard year's work, and they were not about to buy one that did not hold anything up. They knew something the plan books quit telling us. The cheapest roof to put on and the smartest roof to live under turned out to be the same roof. That is not settling for a lesser house. Those folks just knew better than to pay for a pile of corners that never held anything up. So tell me down in the comments, what roof is on the plan you are looking at right now? Is it a simple gable or one of those cut-up roof lines with a valley pointing in every direction? And did anybody ever tell you what those valleys were going to cost you up front and down the road? I read every one of these, and here is the next one, because it is the decision that sits right underneath the whole house, the foundation. There is a cheapest one to pour, and there is one that is cheap on build day and a nightmare to own for 30 years. That is next, and it is waiting for you.